welcome on back to the Mountain Man. It's time for another Sons of Appalachia episode recap. We're going to be breaking down everything that happens in the 6th episode called Night of the Dogman. Now, I absolutely love this episode. It was a lot of fun. It was longer too. It averaged out to about 35 minutes of actual new content, but it was about 39 minutes and 42 seconds if I remember correctly. But that was, with the recap that they do, and then the theme song as well. But yeah, it was a great episode. The team goes back to their roots, and they actually go after, you guessed it, the Dogman, which is a completely new creature that they've never been after before. And for some reason, I thought that they had been. I guess I was getting confused with the Wolfman. I mean, I think you can see why. They're both, dog / man type creatures. But I swear they did go after the dog. I mean, they didn't, but it just, I don't know. I feel like I've heard the word Dogman before. I don't know. But Wolfman, I guess I was just getting confused with the Wolfman, which is the first creature that they went after, wasn't it? Or it was a Webster County werewolf. I don't know. Anyways, starts off, they are back in West Virginia. So it ended off last time, and they were leaving North Carolina, and they're going back to WV. And yeah, now it starts off, and they're there. They're at this brand new production cabin, or one of the, producers' houses, I would assume. I'm not exactly sure where they're at, but they're at this nice house, and Lee Kirkland is there. He's, of course, one of the producers of the Sons of Appalachia show, and he's in the main room, sitting at the table with Bill and Huck, and they're just waiting on Buck. Lee tells them that Buck actually came up to the hotel they were staying at last night, and he talked to him a little bit, and he was actually saying that he was considering retirement, which is just a huge thing to say. I mean, this show is only on the 6th episode. I know he's been actually hunting monsters for a very long time, but, given that this show just started, it just sounded a bit shocking to me to hear that. But to be honest, like I said in my reaction, I've heard this so many times. I feel like this is always a thing that just keeps coming back. Like, Buck's like, I think I'm gonna leave, and it's not like he really wants to, but it's because of what's happening in the dark forest back in the day, or, back what happened in North Carolina. It's mostly involving the Cherokee Devil, but it did surprise me because, that whole hunt was kind of like wrapped up and finished. Like, I feel like he conquered his demon, the Cherokee Devil, so I was kind of surprised that Buck was considering retirement, but, oh well, he ends up showing up, and he talks to Bill and Huckleberry, and he says, unfortunately, I broke my toe by stubbing it. I've never heard of anybody actually breaking a toe just by stubbing it, but I know it really hurts, and sometimes when you stub your toe, it really does feel like it just broke, or like it just came right off. So I know how it feels. I've stubbed my toe many times on the bed frame at nighttime when it's pitch black in the room. But yeah, he explains that on the last hunt, it was just very, very hard on him mentally, and it's the Cherokee Devil. He's always messing with your mind when you're out there in his turf. So it's just a very hard hunt. That was a very hard hunt on Buck. It was a hard hunt on everybody, but mostly Buck, because it was really targeting him. Even the notes from the 13th Dominion, that video message, it was all towards Buck. It was all pointed towards him. So obviously that would definitely do a number on you if that happened to you. But he did a lot of thinking, a lot of soul searching, a lot of reflecting, and he actually explains that, he hasn't slept much in the last 2 weeks, but last night he had a dream, and it was all about Trapper. Now, in this dream, he was actually with Trapper fishing for a bluegill on Trapper's farm, sitting at the old gazebo, just fishing, carefree, good old days. I love dreams like that, when you dream of the past. And it's actually like Trapper was talking to him, but he couldn't hear what he was saying. And that was definitely a sad scene. Any scene where they talk about Trapper is sad, but I thought this was especially sad because, I don't know, you just get to see another side of these, AIMS team members, the SOA team members now, that we would have never got to see on Mountain Monsters. So I like this scene. It reminded me of the scene in the first episode, I think it was, when Buck's actually at that spot. And he's just looking out, kind of thinking about Trapper. But he says that's the good old days, That's what it's all about. And he decides that instead of actually retiring, he wants to go back to a time like that when they were more carefree. They weren't worrying about, this other evil team with all these guns and all these men coming after them, sending them on some kind of devilish hunt. They don't want to do that, They want to actually just enjoy the hunts, and they want to go after just simple cryptids again. So that's what he decides. Instead of retiring, I want to do that. So, they all agree, of course, and they have to understand that it's not like just because they don't want to go after the 13th domain, that doesn't mean that they're not still out there. Like, they're still out there. They're still watching them, and they're probably still going to be back. I'm sure of it. They'll be back without a doubt. And Buck says, we got to watch our backs. I just don't want to be like out here worrying that I'm always getting watched and stuff, even if we are. So anyways, they end up going out to Jackson County, West Virginia, and they actually decided they're going to go after the Dogman, because Buck was talking to some guy, this eyewitness actually, who witnessed a Dogman attacking chickens on his farm. And this is actually the very first time, like I said earlier, that these guys, the SOA team, of course, but just even the Ames team, has ever been after the Dogman. This is the first sighting of him in all of West Virginia, so that's pretty darn cool. Or at least in Jackson County. I'm pretty sure they said in all of West Virginia, though. Maybe not. But anyways, it's this guy, this old farmer. He didn't want to be on camera, unfortunately, but he did say that he had critters come up missing. His chickens, all kinds of them were just kind of gone, eaten upon. A calf got killed, and even his dog got killed. Now that is, the farm animals, it sucks, but when you lose a dog to one of these cryptids, like, that's just on another level of evil. Like, you want this thing off your property, like, get the hell out of here. Most creatures won't, kill a dog. It just seems kind of strange, right? Well, maybe it was another dog, right? The Dogman. Now, we know that cats they'll always go for, like, the neck. They'll go from behind kind of thing. But dogs, they'll go for the throat. And this dog that was actually killed, the farmer's dog, it did have puncture wounds on the throat. So yeah, this was definitely the work of the Dogman for sure. I mean, we can say that almost 100%. And, when Buck was talking to him, the farmer said that he was about 6 to 7 feet tall. He had an elongated nose. And he had very big hips, long arms, long fingers like claws, and just a very, very scary illustration was shown to us in this episode of the Dogman, and I liked it a lot. It was really cool to see. I'm loving these illustrations. I know they're probably AI made, but I don't even care. They're so much better than the ones we got back in the day, especially early Mountain Monsters. They look a whole lot better and more realistic to how I would say these creatures would look in real life if we ever got to see one. But, as they're about to go on this hunt, Buck's like, hey, you know what else lives in Jackson County? The Waya woman. And she's a werewolf, and only about 20 minutes away. That's car miles. Like, that's the distance you take there in a car. But walking there, the way the crow flies, it's even less. That's where the blue house is. Now, I just made a whole video all about the blue house titled The Bone-Chilling History of the Blue House. It's a really good video, I think, and I'm sure you've already seen it, but if you haven't, go check that out right now. Because who knows, the SOA team might end up going back to that area. It's like 20 minutes away, like I just said. So it's not very far away, and that means that this Waya woman could definitely possibly be involved in this hunt, or even could be the Dogman. They could be one of the same creature. I mean, the farmer said that, obviously he was going after, it's obviously a werewolf type of like Dogman creature, right? Both of them are. And he even heard it howl. So was it the Waya woman? Who knows? Now, Buck doesn't think that it really was, but he just says we got to keep in the back of our head that it could be. It's something to keep in mind for sure. Now, one cool thing about this episode, this hunt, is that they finally got a thermal camera. So yeah, finally a thermal. It only took 6 episodes, not bad at all. I was expecting it to not come in to play until maybe like episode 10 or so. So I am happy that they finally got a thermal. And you know what my favorite part about this thermal is? Even though it's quite a bit smaller, it works perfectly. But my favorite part about it is that damn Jeffro ain't the one holding it. Nope, no, not anymore. Now we got Wild Bill, the best dang Thermal operator in the business. I love that. It's Wild Bill's job now. That must just piss Jeffro right off, because that's just saying, Jeffro, we don't need you to have a thermal camera on the show. We certainly do not. But anyways, they end up heading down towards the path down to go hunt the old Dogman. And Buck says that they're headed this direction because this is actually the same direction that the old farmer saw the Dogman kind of like run off into down the holler. Now, he actually not only saw it whenever that was, probably a couple weeks ago. I don't think they ever really stated exactly when, how long before, they're hunting him now, that he reported that one sighting. But he also heard it just 2 nights before. So this thing is clearly out here still. It's not like it moved away and ran off, over into the hollers and hills. But he's out there still. And maybe, just maybe, this could be the Waya woman's lover. No, probably not. That was just a joke. But it certainly did make me chuckle, and you never know. You really do never know. Maybe the Waya woman is, maybe they're on their honeymoon or something. The Waya woman is the bride and the Dogman's the groom. You just never know. Anyways, now that they, have their IR camera too, they got that, I think, a couple episodes ago. Wild Bill says, go to IR. And they start hearing like growls and stuff. Now, I don't think they ever mentioned that they hearing the growls. I heard the growls. I don't know. Did you guys hear growls? Unless it was something else and I mistook it for growling. Sure sound like growls, especially since this is a dog man. It sure sounds, it sounded like growls to me. But anyways, they actually see eye flickers in the distance. They hear like snaps of branches and stuff. So there's clearly something out here. You're seeing eye shines, then there's definitely something out there. And they end up actually smelling what smells like something dead, and it ends up being a dead coyote carcass. Now, I feel really bad for the coyote. It was just like laying there lifeless, and it just looks so sad, It didn't look like it put up much of a fight, though, to be honest. There wasn't a ton of like gashes and marks on it, but there was one distinct like swipe. You could see the scar kind of on its like throat area, which means that it was most likely killed by some kind of dog like creature. And I mean, unless it was killed by a fellow coyote, I don't know if there's wolves out that area. There might be. I don't think, no, there's no wolves in West Virginia other than the ones they caught. So no, there shouldn't be many wolves. But, let's just face it, it was a dog man, of course, that killed this coyote. And it does say on the screen that no animals were harmed by the SOA team, but I mean, I think they just had to put that. Obviously, we know that they wouldn't hurt a coyote. They're out here hunting the damn dog man. They don't want to hurt a coyote. That was obviously the work of the dog man for sure. But anyways, yeah, they're about to kind of head on down the path, just kind of like towards like where they were going. And then they end up seeing another eye shine. So Billy uses his thermal, and we get to see this thermal in action. And it's really cool. It works really good for being so tiny. It's just like one for like one eye. It's not like for both eyes. It's like a tiny little telescope almost, but it's pretty cool. It's a little handheld one. And you can see some heat behind a tree about 50 yards into the distance or so. And, well, could that have been the dog man? I don't know. It's kind of hard to tell, but you can see heat, so it was something. It was kind of hiding behind a tree, so you don't get to see the full, shape of this thing. You don't get to see its full figure, but it's definitely something big hiding behind a tree. I know it's hiding behind a tree. It doesn't sound that big, but it is big. I think it was just a big tree. So they try to go approach this creature. I'm not exactly sure why, but yeah, I think they just wanted to move up the path because that was like the path they were going on. So that was like the next spot to go. But anyways, it ends up kind of like charging at them. But then I don't know where it goes because, I mean, it never actually gets that close to them. They say that they can see it charging. I couldn't really see it, but I don't know. It just looks like a shadowy type of figure far off in the distance. But anyways, they end up getting into a bind with this thing and possibly another creature. So I think personally that it was a dog man and the Waya woman that was like cornering them, had them in a bind. And well, anyways, to get out of this bind, they decide we got to split up. It's actually Bill's decision, and I think that was pretty darn noble of Bill to do that. He risks his life for the team here. Takes one for the team, of course. But he actually tries to lead the dog man to him. I didn't understand exactly what he was doing, why he did it when I watched it the first time, but I always rewatch these a couple times before I do the recap. And, well, he ends up like trying to lead him into a different direction. Buck and Huck and like the camera guy, and I think Lee was with him too. Or maybe Lee is the camera guy. I'm not 100% sure. But anyways, they go back to the truck, but then they get about halfway there. Then I think Lee goes somewhere else. I don't know where Lee goes. So I think by the time this ends, Lee's in a different spot. I'm not sure where Lee went. I hope he's okay though. But anyways, he does, like, Buck tells him to shake off and go to the farmer's house if he needs anything. He'll greet you with a shotgun, but he's a nice guy. He knows what you look like, so you should be fine. But anyways, Buck and Huck are in the truck with the camera guy. It might be Lee. It might not. I think it's Jeff Walters holding the camera, to be honest. But I wish that we knew this 100%. Maybe they'll comment and tell me so I know for next time. But anyways, Buck and Huck are in the truck. They're waiting for Bill, and they're like, maybe this wasn't our smartest idea. Because, Bill's out there. Lee's out there. Who the hell knows where they are? It's scary. Dogman, Waya woman could be out there. So they end up hearing gunshots, and then, they see somebody run towards them, and turns out it's Wild Bill. And that's that scene that we saw in the preview from the last episode, showing this episode a little bit. And I was wondering what this scene could be about. Obviously, Bill looks pretty darn scared, running from what is most likely the Dogman. And, well, now we get to hear the gunshots, so we get to see the full, scene, and it's pretty darn scary. Obviously, Wild Bill was running for his life. I think the Dogman was chasing him, or it was the Waya woman, or something completely else. Who really knows? I think there's still a Bigfoot in the area. I think there was back in the day when they went after the Waya woman, right? So, yeah, who knows what kind of cryptids could be out there in the woods. But anyways, this was a great episode. I definitely give it a solid 8 out of 10. It was just fun, It was just a fun episode. They went back to their roots. It was a little bit emotional in the start. I like when they're a little bit emotional, and the music was good in the background. It just, it was an energizing hunt. It was a lot of fun to watch. I love the Dogman, brand new cryptid that we've never seen them hunt before, which is really cool. And it's just cool to go after, another dog creature, a canine creature. It's been a while. Anyways, thanks for watching this episode recap, and I hope you did enjoy. Let me know your favorite parts of the episode down in the comments below, what you'd rate it and all that fun stuff. And, well, yeah, I'll see y'all next time, right here on the Old Mountain Man. Hoorah! I'm going to catch some monsters, and Dogman creatures, of course.